Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 59 of the P S Gilmore Story. This is, as I said, episode 59 of the Grand Army of the Republic, the GAR, and this is part 5 of that story. And here's the P S Gilmore's Post number 452 of New York. And this is basically, I suppose, the story of that post after Gilmore's death. The last name that was signed up in the roster was Lawrence O'Reilly from Ireland, who lived in Brooklyn. He had fought, according to this, in the 6th US Infantry, and he had enlisted in 1858. And here's a short piece about Lawrence. Lawrence was a young boy fresh from Ireland and a bookbinder by trade when he enlisted, and he has a vivid memory of a march from Leavenworth to Salt Lake City and then across the desert and mountains to Benicia Barracks, a tramp of 2,600 miles. The Indians used to call our infantry walk-a-heaps, and Comrade O'Reilly was one of those who earned this name for our tireless-footed soldiers. At this stage, he was 74 years old, according to this, so that would make him, he would have been born in 1836, and he would live for many more years. Very fit man and very positive man. Great friend of Gilmore's family, as we will see. And this would have been the famous 100-piece band of Patrick Gilmore, in which O'Reilly would have played as one of the piccolo players, one of the two piccolo players. This was the greatest band in the world at that time. And imagine 100-piece band on the stage of of Madison Square Gardens. And here's the roster. As a concert tour by a band of 100 first-class musicians, as it says here, the roster of Gilmore's. And there's number 2, L. O'Reilly under Signor De Carlo. And you had to be an exceptional musician to, irregardless of how much Gilmore liked you. If you weren't a good musician, you did not play with this band. Here's a typical newspaper headline that would have been in all of the papers of the time. Down in the bottom right, you see Gilmore's 100, the greatest band in the world. Here's an advertisement from that period. Gilmore's great band, 100 musicians, anvils, cannons and the centennial organ will be introduced in giving the popular effects of the Great Jubilee. Yes, indeed, this was an incredible sight and sound to behold. Here's Lawrence, a fine tall man, definitely one of those determined men that any mission that he would be sent on, he was sure to complete it to the last T. Lawrence would take over the command of the musicians' post, and here you see that after Gilmore's death, they got permission, a dispensation permitting them to change their name to the P S Gilmore Post in honor of the band leader and the first commander of the post. So the second commander would become Lawrence O'Reilly. And here is a card requesting a meeting or whatever it is, and down at the bottom right, Lawrence O'Reilly is signified as the commander, and that's from 1896. It was no surprise really. O'Reilly was a great friend of not only P S Gilmore but also the whole family, Ellen the wife, Minnie the daughter. And for his funeral, he was central to the organisation of the funeral, along with other members of the band himself. Here's a little clipping which notes that Frederick Schultz of Sheepshead Bay, one of the oldest members of the Gilmores Band, exhibited in the Federal Building a magnificent amethyst ring with Gilmore's initials encrusted in diamonds on the stone that has been presented to him by Mrs. Gilmore and Miss Gilmore. Down further, it says, H. Zilm and Lawrence O'Reilly, 2 other members, have also been presented with this ring. And here is the ring. Now, I've done a quick count of these diamond incrustations, I suppose you'd call them, diamond stones, and I think that there is about 100 of those. Whether that's a coincidence in view of the band, I'm not sure. It was an amethyst ring with the diamond chips in it. And here's Lawrence and his wife in later life. And again, he's a fine, straight, upright man. And I have no idea what age he would be. I would say probably in his 80s. But this is not the type of man that you're going to pick either a verbal argument or whatever with. To give you an idea, 700 Civil War musicians, and this event took place in Salt Lake City. In 1906, there was 1,200 members in the National Association of Civil War Musicians. A booklet was indeed written by a man called Hopkins in that year, and he himself was in the fife and drum organization as well. And basically the Post, this is a very important resolution, and this was 1910. The Post has passed strong resolutions against the placing of the Lee statue in the Hall of Fame. Signed, Lawrence O'Reilly, Commander. It would have gone to the vote of the membership. But I want to emphasize this. This was not that they wished to disrespect their enemy, their former enemy. They had respect for them. They had not necessarily any respect for what the cause that they were fighting for. But, I mean, even in Gilmore's case, he saluted the Richmond Blues in Roanoke Island. That did not mean to say that he was in favour of any form of slavery, but he did have respect for his foe. And that should always be emphasised as well. The Civil War GAR was dissolved on August the 2nd, 1956, I should say. And by the way, here is Lawrence O'Reilly's marker in Cypress Hills in Brooklyn. Definitely a place I'm going to go the next time I'm in the US, and maybe lay a wreath there for what he's done and what he stood for. So that's in Lawrence. That's Lawrence. Oh yes, and finally, when these organizations evolved, you had various national associations of Civil War musicians, and you see this wonderful collection. I didn't buy it, which was offered at some stage or other. Here's a ribbon that I have from 1932. So, that basically, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of the GAR from a musical perspective, and particularly from the perspective of GAR 452. If any of your ancestors were members of that GAR, please contact me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to learn more about their story. Please click subscribe and like, and I hope to hear from you next week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.